Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, welcome out to Giga Texas. It's a Friday, the last Friday of August 2024, and it's been a very interesting day to fly today. We've had some sun, some clouds, and it's definitely turning into more like a fall type weather. Now, there are a few things I would like to cover on the intro that you might find of interest, especially as we get into the video. But the very first thing that I want to show you is these set of images. Back in early July, when I got the tour of the factory, the plant manager had mentioned to me that they were going to have large flagpoles installed and flying the American flag, the Texas flag, and the Tesla flag. Today we see across from the west main entrance these three holes that are being constructed, filled with concrete, and prepared for just that. Some very large flagpoles. And if you've been in the Texas area at all, you know that we love our gigantic flags and really tall flagpoles. So that is what we're going to be getting here on the west side of Giga Texas. So it's going to be a great look for the factory, and it will kind of give another thing to be seeing as you drive along the highway and figure out where Giga Texas is, because those are going to be visible for miles. The other couple of things that I would like to talk about today is the number of Cybertrucks here on site continues to grow in population over on that west outbound lot, and they just seem to be stockpiling a very large number of them. And a few of them are also being picked up by covered trailers and then moved off site. I'm not exactly sure why that is the case, but there are certainly a lot of Cybertrucks here today, probably close to maybe almost 1,000 of them over at the outbound lot. So something has clearly changed. I'm not sure what that is, but it is interesting to note. The last construction thing that I want to talk to you about is over by the cathode plant and the die shop, and that has to do with Tesla Road's expansion and extension off to the east. The crews are busy working with the steel corrugated pipes and installing them underneath where the road will eventually go. This is part of a water management and drainage system that has been constructed throughout the entire facility, and it's necessary because sometimes we get a lot of rain and it needs to be directed away from the various facilities. And that's what we're seeing over at that extension for Tesla Road today. So hopefully we'll see that continuing to be worked, and we'll see Tesla Road move all the way over to the battery cathode plant and die shop once it's completed. Other than that, there is a lot to see in the video today, a lot to talk about. So without further ado, let's get into the drone, let's fly around and see what it looks like here on the last Friday of August 2024. As always, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. Have a great long Labor Day weekend. Take care.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. great way to start the Labor Day weekend here in the United States with a view of a outbound lot completely full with Cybertrucks. I'd estimate there's about 1,000 of them here on this site. Some of them are just in the north part storage waiting for processing. Others are getting ready for processing and being picked up on the south end. I also noticed on the north end of the outbound lot this new structure. It's going to be concrete. I believe it's related to the stormwater management system. It may also be part of the drainage for this culvert that is in the middle of the screen between the two power lines. But as we look to the south across the outbound lot, this gives you a really good sense of the number of Cybertrucks, also Model Ys, that are here at the site. I'm going to continue to pull away to the north for a brief moment. I wanted to look at the natural gas pipes that are being installed next to this material staging yard with the two tents. As we mentioned before, there are two colors of pipe. One of them is a pipe that is coated specifically for being pulled through a bore in the ground. The rest of them are good for being installed into trenches. This is part of that Sandhill Energy Plant lateral extension that we have talked about and reviewed the site plan and permits for that work. As we fly over the north end of the end of line and the test track, I wanted to give you a closer view of some of the activity with the Cybertrucks and also Model Ys here on the southeast corner. As you can tell, many are stored on the right-hand side of the screen in the west and east part of the outbound lot. And then as we cross over these tents, a lot more still here on the southeast side in this formation. And you can note those two covered trailers with the ramps going into them in the upper center of the screen. And what we're seeing is some of the Cybertrucks, in fact, one of them right now inside one of those trucks, are being loaded up and moved off with these trucks. Now, this is not a most efficient way of moving vehicles, so there must be some purpose to be using those kinds of trailers. But a great overall view of all of the Cybertrucks waiting here for delivery soon. As I pan the drone across the south part of this site, we can get a good sense of the continued work with the natural gas pipes, with the workers, sort of a sense of scale. And this is continuing to progress down towards the boring tunnel. Also, some of the conduit in this trench that I believe will be serving the boring tunnel as well. Now, the natural gas pipe will go underneath this portion of the tunnel and continue all the way to the south under the Colorado River. And I will give you better views of that here shortly. But here at the boring tunnel, we can tell that the face of the tunnel has been cleaned up a little. That end of the concrete where 3 of the rings were removed. And it looks like they're continuing to do excavation work here on this part of the tunnel to prepare for that facing structure so it can be operational. And also later in the video, we'll take a look inside the south extension where crews are working on the other end of the tunnel right now. So I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude. We'll cross over the Colorado River and I'll show you where more of that gas pipe installation is underway. Great view back across the river to Giga Texas and the outbound lot on the left-hand side of the screen. This is the operation that is currently underway for that natural gas pipe. In fact, you can see the horizontal drilling rig is kind of perpendicular to the river right now. That's because they are drilling underneath the main highway over to the energy plant. And as we cross the highway, looking back to where we were at that horizontal drilling operation, the drilling is going underneath the road here where you can see those orange kind of fences and into where that pit is located right now. The clearing is for additional pipe installation all along this part of the site. And you can tell more of that pipe is laid out, getting ready for it to have the trench work. and then it will be terminating where you see the vehicles in the left-hand side of the screen, and then that will be connecting into the Sand Hill Energy Plant. A great view of the south end of Giga Texas with the parking garage on the upper right, the cooling plant, the south-facing part of the structure with all of the glass, and of course those 3 tunnels that are at the bottom of the glass. As we continue to progress back towards the west side of the main factory, this is a good opportunity to take a look at what is going on the ground, in addition to more of the Cybertrucks kind of temporarily parked here by this roadway and next to this trailer. There's actually a few that have just come out of the factory. So even though this is a Friday and it's not really a production day, they may be wrapping up some of the vehicles that were inside, but needed a few final things attached to it or finished up, and then they can bring them out to take to the outbound lot. But they certainly are making a lot of these Cybertrucks, as you can tell. There's a large delivery next to these 3 Cybertrucks on the left, covered in that black tarp, so kind of hard to tell exactly what that is. And as we fly over some of the equipment and get to this corner of the facility, I'll zoom in and just give you a good view again of the paved section underneath here, which, as I understand it, will be for vehicles to access into this part of the building and get to the boring tunnel. More work on the interior walls, those galvanized steel ductwork, and it looks like more of the cabinetry for potentially the Cortex supercomputer cluster on the ground, and additional more equipment and some fenced-in section next to that south glass. As I pan the drone back towards the boring tunnel site inside the extension, I will try to give you a zoom in and you can get a good sense of the work that is underway inside. The steel structure is kind of part of that facing structure that'll go around the end of the tunnel, and it looks like there's some additional excavation work now between the concrete slab and the tunnel. And as I maneuver the drone a little bit to the right, get a better view of some of the activity inside. And you can just see on the left-hand side of that opening where the old wall and the doorways are where the Cybertrucks used to come out of the factory. So all that will be integrated together. Here's a great view of the ground floor. Again, those fenced-off structures on the ground next to the windows. And as I come up that open trapezoidal section over that entranceway, more equipment by the glass, pipework, pumps, and heat exchangers in this area. The bridge cranes on the top of the mezzanine and additional work that's going on in there. And of course, those very large pipes and manifolds that are for the cooling water for that Cortex supercomputer data center. As I pan the drone to the south, we'll maneuver around the southwest corner of the factory and we'll take a look at the work on the tunnels on the south end. The grade work is evident here as they continue to bring in the fill dirt and try to get a grade so that it matches the grade on the southwest corner on the left-hand side of the screen and the southeast corner, which we will see momentarily. But the good view here of the tunnel on the left with the doors, the fill dirt, and how high it is relative to the center tunnel, and how its facing structure is being prepared. Eventually we'll see doors here as well. The dirt is all the way up to the bottom of the glass panes on the left-hand side of the screen, so that gives you an idea of how high this is going to have to come. Also, that mound of dirt looks like it may have a fire water loop for hydrants. It also gives us an idea of the height of the grade here once it is completed. Of course, this tunnel is the one that has the most work remaining, but we can tell that earthwork is being done on the right-hand side to fill in this area and bring the grade up to match what we see on the paved section of the site. As I maneuver around the light post. Keep a drone at a lower altitude. This is kind of a view of what it would be like if you were near ground level walking into this section. Of course, the extension on the left is continuing to have interior walls built out and prepared for painting. The manifolds on the ground on the middle of the screen for the cooling water system, and of course what the upper floor looks like as well. As I zoom in, this is a view of those temporary pumps, pipes, and systems to clean out the cooling water pipes on the left, and a great view into the ground floor of all of the pipes and the systems that have been installed. Crews continue to work on the near roof section with some of those metal parts that wrap around the top. Maybe that's going to be a facing structure at some point. We'll have to see what that will look like. As I maneuver around the power lines, this is a opportunity to look down onto the cooling plant, the 6 fans, the work on the ground level, that new apron that has been poured and cross-cut. Also a new section has been paved or concreted going into the structure next to that temporary loading dock. And then at the bottom right, that triangular blue area is getting prepared for concrete to finish out that part of the structure. Also, the pumps and pipes that are for that cleaning out of the cooling system are very visible next to the cooling plant. As I pull away, this is a great look to the southwest across the factory and on the east side of the factory itself. This is part of the body in white on the right-hand side of the screen. That's where most of the robots put the weld the bodies together before they head up to paint, at least for the Model Ys and potentially for some of the future products. Speaking of which, the parking garage is both busy with employees parking on the ground floor. There's one parking on the very top floor, and on the east side with the privacy fencing, it's possible that we are seeing some of the new product development underway, or at least they're doing some sort of testing that they would like to keep out of view. But anyway, a great look across this section back to the south extension. On the ground, more of the light poles have been delivered. I believe those are for the roof and other parts around the parking garage, perhaps also in this dirt lot that we see. I'm going to pull away to the east, and we'll take a look at the activity on this part of the site that we don't normally get a chance to see. Now this part of the site has workshops and also some of the trailers for the contractors. In addition to that, materials are stored here as well as equipment and some vehicles. Also near this large pile of dirt, which is kind of used for recycling of concrete, and at the bottom of the screen is where they've done some recycling of materials. That pile is one of the last remaining structures that was here before Giga Texas was built. Of course, it's been made higher because of all of the construction. What I'm trying to show you here is the Tesla Road extension that is underway. On the right-hand side of the screen, excavation work in that culvert. I believe that's going to be tying in the water management system to that detention pond on the east side of the cathode plant. Here we see crews working with the steel corrugated pipe and concrete vault connections. This is going to eventually connect into other parts of the stormwater system that's already been built and goes around the die shop in the cathode building. And of course, then Tesla Road will be extended across this area. We do note that the alleyway here is kind of cordoned off from most vehicle or traffic with those orange and white blocks. But as we fly through, this gives us a sense of what is going on here with a lot of the pumps and pipes and the vaporizer systems. I don't see any of the condensation on the vaporizers today, so perhaps there's not work being done that requires the gaseous oxygen, but there are a lot of vehicles in the parking lot. As I maneuver around this tree, I wanted to give you a look at the die shop north end and the furnace that is here on the exterior underneath that cover. Also, some of the deliveries that we've been monitoring over the last few videos. No big changes on the west side. The materials on the ground here continue to be moved inside and assembled as they continue to finish up the interior of the die shop. The chiller plant, this is what it looks like from near ground level. And as I mentioned, there's not a lot of obvious indications of how that is being used at the moment here on this Friday. As I cross up over the cathode plant, we'll drop the drone back down and just take a brief look at the east side. The new temporary walls on the left with the receiving door and also the cooling unit. Looks like they also have that red and white trailer kind of device that's a ramp that's used to load and unload those trailers. Also, some of the materials in that dirt section still waiting for installation. And of course, the crash test facility continues to be very busy conducting all kinds of testing with various models of Teslas. As we cross the north face of the cathode building, I'm going to continue to fly the drone back towards the main factory, and we're going to need to take a look at the northeast corner and some of the activity that is going on with the baghouse filtration plant, also the new concrete apron that is under construction. Now, I've had people ask me recently, what is the baghouse filtration system for? That is to help do filtration of the air in the casting machine structure. It's partly because of some of the oil that's used to be release agents to take the dyes out of the casting machines, but also because there's furnaces now for melting down aluminum and other gaseous kind of mixtures that can get into the environment. So this is a way of cleaning that and making sure it's a safe environment. And that's why they're building that plant. As I zoom in here, speaking of that concrete apron, this is what it looks like today. The receiving doors on the left and right have rails coming out to some sort of a platform, and that looks like it's going to be for a mobile bridge crane to be able to perhaps move dies in and out over towards the die shop for maintenance and development. The baghouse filtration plant looks like it is continuing to make progress with those large ductwork on the ground, that tank in that catch basin, more of the items on the upper floors, and as we talked about in my previous video, the two tanks that are installed now on the south end. And looking back across the entire facility here, this gives you a good kind of context of where all these are located with the factory itself and how it continues to develop. I'm going to turn the drone back towards these receiving doors, just give you a good close-in look at the new concrete that has been poured, and it looks like it has been saw cut to relieve some of the strain to keep it from cracking. Also, excavation work on that north end. It's most likely going to be a small retaining wall that will be kind of the northern boundary of these receiving doors. And once those are completed, they will finish the installation of the enclosures for those receiving doors, and then these will be able to be operational. So I'm going to cross over the roof of Giga Texas because I want to show you a development with flagpoles. Now, if you remember my 3 July video when I had the tour of the facility, I also talked about the eventual construction of 3 flagpoles, one for the US flag, one for the Texas flag, and one for the Tesla flag. And that is what we are seeing now. There will be 3 poles, one on the left, center, and right. They've already got some of the concrete poured into each of these excavations, and you can see where the mounts are going to be installed, those kind of circular openings in the concrete. And as I continue to maneuver the drone here, I will kind of bring it down and pan up to the exterior entrance here. And you can just imagine the 3 large poles with humongous flags and how that's going to kind of transform this main entrance. And I think it's a great addition. And I know that the people here at Giga Texas are really looking forward to having these flags. That was something that they put on display using cranes during the 4th of July celebration, but now they're going to have their own permanent flagpoles here very soon. So I'm glad to be able to show you finally that work underway. We're going to fly back to the north along the west side of the factory, and I'm going to kind of stop here, just a brief look at this clearing where the concrete's been removed. Not a lot of changes yet again. There are some deliveries next to where we see the cans for the 4680s being recycled in that blue bin, but it's really hard to tell for sure what's in these particular crates, but I do believe it is associated with 4680 production. And we also see some cryogenic supplies about to be delivered. And of course, this new section where the concrete's been removed right at the northwest corner. And this is what it looks like today. So let's maneuver around the northwest corner of the factory, take a look at what is going on here on the north end. To me, it looks like this area right in front of where these 2 platforms are has been cleaned up a lot. There's not a lot of materials or equipment or anything else left over here. So that may be another great sign of the progress that is going on inside with building out more of the production lines for the 4680s. And since we are here, I'll bring the drone back up and take a look at these ducted fans, enclosures, and mounts that are being installed. It looks like there's some mount frames being prepared. Also, possibly sections of the roof that may indicate where those are going to be installed. And we'll continue to monitor this to see what is being installed and what its purpose is. So right now I'm going to continue to fly back along the roof section, take a look at these enclosures and fan units. On the left you see workers, looks like they are changing out some of the filters, and this is part of that filtration system of which the baghouse filtration system will be a part of. And here's a great look down from a bird's eye perspective of the baghouse filtration plant. The tanks on the right with the workers for a kind of a good sense of scale. All the ductwork and equipment on the upper floors. And looking down on the ground, the saw cutting that has been done on more of the concrete, so we may see more of that removed, and some of the form work and preparation for those rails and mounts for mobile or movable bridge cranes that could come out through this area. We also see what looks to be some sort of wood, or I think it may be steel, but it's hard to tell, put onto those beams on the left, and more of the concrete work plus footing work next to the concrete apron. So a lot of development here yet to come, and we'll continue to monitor as time goes on. The cable pull through the conduit looks like mostly completed here. All of the spools of the cable have been moved across Tesla Road, and we will see that momentarily. And of course, another one of those open vaults where the cables are going through the conduit to the north. Deliveries of additional materials for interior walls being done today, and that will continue with the fitting out and change of what the casting machine structure looks like inside. These mobile chilling units, the cables and racks, and the blue pipes and pumps, this is how that looks today. I think this is still related possibly to the operation of the large 9,000-ton gigapresses, because that area has been getting quite warm and they would like to have a better environment for the workers. Looking across Tesla Road, it's a great kind of a look at where the conduit is going through the spools of the cable and how they've been moved up here from that casting machine structure, and that they're laying them out to pull the cable through the conduit. Eventually it'll come up to this structure, And that's sort of a bridging structure over utilities underneath this area. And the vaults have those conduits. It's pretty easy to see how that will work. And that will continue all the way up to the electrical switch yard. So that'll bring to a close the video for today, the last Friday of August 2024. I hope you enjoyed what we were able to see and talk about, and have a great Labor Day weekend. Take care.